I believe that the Word of God is a very intricate tapestry, and that the geography of the Bible is not trivia. Now, the word trivia itself is a geographical term, trivia, three ways, where three roads came together, people would stand and chat about things. And from this we get this idea of trivia. But as I've studied the scriptures, it seems to me that very often you'll see a pattern developing where the stories that occurred in a particular place have a uniting theme that is very often linked to the geography. And in the Bible, the Mediterranean Sea is sometimes used as a picture of the Gentile nations, right? The troubled sea, casting up mire and dirt, never at rest. And so the tribe that was given this piece of real estate, in other words, the property that had the only seaport on the coast, would have the privilege of communicating to the Gentiles. Those of us who are Gentiles at that time were worshiping sticks and stones and inanimate objects and forces in the universe. But they would have the opportunity to communicate to these Gentiles the truth of the one true God. And it seems to me that all of the stories that swirl around Joppa have to do with that theme. So you've already heard from Malcolm some of the stories that occurred here. We go back to God's original idea to take the children of Israel as a nation out of Egypt and plant them in this land and raise them up as a testimony to the nations who would travel back and forth through this land bridge, and they would come into contact with the Jewish people, and they would say, how can you live like this, so different to everyone else? And their answer would be that they had their roots in God, and they were drawing their resources from Him, and that it wasn't them, it was actually the God that they worshipped who had given them this opportunity to represent Him in the world. And so God's promise was that through Abraham, all the nations of the earth would be blessed. Well, the children of Israel were not travelers. They were traders. And so there was this opportunity to interact with the Gentiles here at this spot. Now, the tribe that was given this territory was the tribe of Dan. And you'll remember way back God's original plan when He brought the children of Israel out of Egypt, that He said, I'm going to go camping with you. And He gave Moses a plan for a prefab building, a tent, that they could bring with them through the wilderness, and God would live in the midst of His people. And that tent was very intricate, and it involved someone being able to work not only with cloth, with wood, with metals, with jewels, and this person who was selected was a man named Aholiab, and Aholiab was from the tribe of Dan. Later on, when God decided to build a house of prayer for all nations in Jerusalem, His intention was to make a magnificent building which would draw people to come and learn about the true God. And of course this happened. The Queen of Sheba, the Ethiopian eunuch, Cornelius, Gentiles who were sick of the pantheism, the emptiness of their own religion, would come seeking the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the man, again, who was responsible for overseeing the construction of this temple, was half Jewish and half Gentile. He came from the north, from Tyre, and his mother was from the tribe of Dan, but his father was a Gentile. And so we start to see a little hint of something God is doing, in which His intention is not to be Israel's private little God, but to use Israel as a means of spreading the message of the true God to all the nations. And so the building that was constructed was made out of Jewish stones and Gentile timbers. The timbers were floated down from Byblos, we've heard. We'll be crossing the Yarkon River, and they were taken up the Yarkon, up through the valley, eventually brought up to the city of Jerusalem.